Let's go ahead and bring in Republican Congressman Brad Wenstrup of Ohio, member of the House Ways and Means Committee. Congressman, you voted against increasing the stimulus checks to $2,000, so let's start there.
Okay. Yeah, glad to start with that. I thought it was rushed, and I also thought that look, we've had how many months where Nancy Pelosi was holding up any type of aid going to the American people further. So now all of a sudden, after a well-negotiated deal that was really between the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives under Nancy Pelosi, we need to have some change at the very end. To me, it was more political. And I am sympathetic to the American people, and I would like to get more money to them. But at the same time, even going back to phase 2 and phase 3 of the COVID packages, I was saying, how are we going to pay for this? We really need to start talking about it. Now you have the entity of foreign aid and people concerned about foreign aid, which should not have been tied to the relief package anyway. I think we could take a look there and make some cuts to be able to pay for some of this. So those are the conversations on the table that I think we need to address. And it was important that we got the deal done that we had negotiated in a bipartisan, bicameral way, and move on from there. And with this by itself, I think that the Senate Majority Leader makes a very good point when he said, "Look, there's other issues that are involved here that we can take a look at. Section 230 and the credibility of our elections are important issues." And again, let me go back to what I said at the beginning. Nancy Pelosi put off any of this stuff for a long time, and the package that we have together has far more benefits besides just $600 cash. And people need to take that into consideration of how they're getting relief with nutrition, child care for students, et cetera.
Well, it seems that the two sides have different priorities, right? The Democrats are saying our priorities are to override the defense policy bill. We want to do that. And the other thing is to have this standalone vote on the $2,000 checks. And McConnell seems to be standing firm. So what happens next?
Well, I also voted to override the president's veto because, especially as a soldier, I can tell you that this is too important. It's our number one constitutional duty is to provide for the defense of our country, and that should not be held hostage in any way, shape, or form. And typically, it is not. And so I do want to see that proceed. And I think that Bernie Sanders is inappropriate to use that as a tool in this negotiation process.
And we're looking forward towards Georgia as well. We've got those very contentious Senate runoff races on January 5th, and we'll be watching closely because essentially split government depends on those two races. And the question is, when it comes to the $2,000 checks, are voters in Georgia going to be less apt to vote for Republicans, even though those senators do support the $2,000 checks, but in general because they didn't see some action or they didn't see some movement there on behalf of the GOP in general?
Well, I think that the voters in Georgia ought to keep in mind that it was Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, that held up getting anything done for how long? And 40 times we put a bill on the floor in the House of Representatives to try and get aid to the American people. As Republicans, we did that. So they should take a look at who's actually trying to make a difference. And, I think when it comes to this, independent voters a lot of times really like there to be a mixed balance of power. And I think they're going to be very concerned about Democrats controlling the Senate, the House, and the White House.
Well, the idea is that there won't be a split ticket, right? If you're going to vote Republican, you'll vote down the line. If you're going to vote Democrat, you'll go down the line. But the issue with COVID-19, the pandemic, we saw it in the general election as well, was that early voting, mail-in voting changed the game. It brought more people out, and it sort of sent things off in a different direction. About 2.5 million people have voted early in Georgia. That will stop today, and then the rest will come out on January 5th. Your thoughts about the split with respect to the voters and who we're going to see on Election Day and which way they're going to vote?
Well, I'm not good at predicting the outcomes of these things, but I will say, if you look at it, Ohio, for example, when it comes to the voting process, there was not a problem. We have absentee ballots, but you had to identify yourself. You had to give your last four. You had to give the number on your driver's license, your signature. It all had to match up. That, I think, is the concern that people have about these elections, because in states where your identification does not have to be verified, that's a big problem. So we'll see this play out in Georgia. I know that both sides of the aisle are going to be watching things very closely as this plays out.
And to your point, the voter irregularities and issues of checking identification, these are all things that McConnell is pushing for, that President Trump has pushed for, and things should be part of this entire package that we should look at, and that's part of the problem. Congressman, great to see you. Thanks for your time today. We wish you and yours a very happy new year.
Same to you, Jackie. Thank you.
All right.